Hey, it's Emily. Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome back to my Anchor Station, or episode 8 of my podcast, if you're listening via Apple Podcasts. If you're on Anchor, feel free to call in with any questions or literally just to say hi. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, why not write me a review? Say if you've got a spare 2 minutes, it would be awesome to see what you think of my podcast. Now, on to the content. So in my last podcast, I said that I was gonna try and do another podcast before Christmas, and obviously it's now the 11th of January and people might have been expecting a podcast in December, but it just didn't happen. So basically it didn't happen because I completely forgot that December is mental and that actually Christmas is a really super overwhelming time sensory wise, and I seem to forget each year. So I was like, oh yeah, because I had like 10 days off from work and I was like, sure, I'll definitely like do a podcast. I had stuff written up for it and things like that, and yeah, it just didn't happen. So Happy New Year, everyone. Hope you had a good Christmas and New Year shenanigans. And I thought I'd kind of start off this podcast by talking about something that relates to the last podcast. So I said that I had 4 Christmas like parties / do's to go to, which I wasn't particularly looking forward to due to social awkwardness, but I thought I'd just kind of recap on them and let you guys know how they went and if I survived. Little spoiler, I did survive because I'm here right now, but yeah, they actually all went okay. So if I just run through what they were again. So the first Christmas thing I had to do was like a ground floor Christmas drinks at work, so just our office like Christmas drinks. Then the second thing I had to do was go to a graduate like meal, which is, I'm not a graduate, but I started with a load of graduates at the same time in the same workplace, so we kind of all got to know each other and we're all the same age, so I had to do that. Then the third thing was the main like kind of company party, and that was at a race course, which was hella fancy and posh, so I'll go into that in a bit more detail. And then the last thing I had to do was like a team meal, and that was just 7 of us, so there's 7 people in my team including me. So yeah, the first one, 4 Christmas drinks. It was difficult because we met in a bar and it was really busy and everyone was drinking, so I was like and it was only like 7:30. But I went in with my friend from work, so that was good. I had someone to go in with, sort of thing. We kind of stuck with each other during the night because we're kind of the same age, and everyone else is a kind of bit older. So in terms of having someone there to talk to, it was good. Sensory wise, it wasn't, because there was a DJ, and then like this guy started on a guitar, and I was like, got a bit overwhelmed. But then everyone got really hungry, which was like a blessing, because then we all got to leave this cocktail bar, which was great. And then we all went to like a really quiet restaurant, which was good because I was hungry and it was somewhere quiet. So yeah, that went fine. And then the graduate meal was slightly more difficult because, I don't know, like I tend to get on better with boys than I do with girls, so I could talk to the boys easily, but the girls, I just felt very self-conscious, and I was very kind of flushy because when I eat hot food I flush really badly, so my face was a bit blotchy. But yeah, I mean, the only bad thing about it was that I spent like 30 quid on a meal out and I ate not even half of it. Like the starter was a really spicy soup, even though it said it was a vegetable soup, so that was difficult sensory wise because it was just totally overwhelming, and everyone was like, oh, why didn't you like your soup, why didn't you finish your soup? And I was like, excellent. And then the main course was a bit better, but again it was really spicy, and then the dessert was cheesecake, so I ate that. So I basically came home having eaten just a cheesecake, so that was healthy. And then we had the race course party. Now this was like hella fancy, so I didn't realise it was like black tie event, and loads of guys turned up in like tuxedos and like bow ties and things, and I was like, okay. I wore a dress that I was comfortable in, which is the one and only dress I own that I just got out of the cupboard again. It's the dress I wore on my graduation as well, from uni, so that I kind of knew that I was comfortable in it. And I just wore it with tights and cut all the labels out of everything and was comfortable. So it was smart enough, I think, and the fact that I even went out in a dress is an achievement, I think, and so did my family. But it was a really good night, and I will talk a little bit more in the next segment about it. So yeah, race course party was very fancy. We had when we walked in, we had to walk literally a mile to find the big hall where we were meant to be. And when we got there, it was like an open bar, which was fine. There were so many people there. It was like 200 people, so it was really busy. But I kind of knew everyone, so that was okay. And then we all went upstairs to have dinner in on separate tables. So I was like, okay, where on earth am I going to be sitting? So I looked at the table plan, and there were 21 tables, 21. And I was like, oh my god, where am I going to be and who am I going to be with? So anyway, I looked at the table plan and realised I was sat next to my manager, which was great because I know her, and with a couple of other people from my team, so that was good. And I realised I was table number 5, so that I was quite high up and near, kind of sitting near the board of directors. So I was like, okay. But I behaved beautifully, and I ate all my food, and I even ate my sprouts. And I don't really like sprouts. And at the end, it was so funny because my friend was sat on table 19. She was literally right in the corner of the room. I could see her, I could just see the top of her head, and I really wanted to go over and chat to her. But I couldn't really because everyone was sat at their tables. Anyway, at the end of the meal, my manager was like, Emily, you can get down from the table now and go and speak to your friend. I was like, oh my god, I feel like a 12-year-old. But yeah, that was really sweet of her. And then there was a photo booth and a dance floor and stuff, and it was really weird. It almost felt like a family wedding, but people dancing in front of their managers and things, and my manager was dancing. I was like, oh my god, it was so cringy. It was like watching dad dancing, kind of lots of people, not that my dad is embarrassed, I don't get embarrassed by my dad dancing, but it was lots of kind of parents dancing, so it was very funny, and there were quite a few drunk people, but I managed all right. I did okay, and when I got home I was totally knackered. I think it was about half 1, because when we got the bus from work to the race course, and when we got back to work, I had to defrost my entire car because it was completely iced over. It was freezing that night, and I said that I'd give 3 people a lift into town because I don't live that far away from my town centre. So everyone sat in the car, and I had to defrost the entire car whilst literally in a dress and a small cardigan. Anyway, I got home, I survived. End of Christmas party number 3. Christmas party thing number 4 was the team meal. Okay, so we were in a really super tiny Italian restaurant in town, which was good because I knew where I was going. But oh my god, I was so socially awkward. I was the youngest there by I'd say 15, 20 years, and I made polite conversation, obviously, and I tried not to kind of interrupt and made sure I was listening as well as eating, which is really hard when you're eating with people you don't really know that well. I know them in the work sense, but they were asking me stuff about my life and stuff, and I was like, oh god, the stuff that you keep kind of private, and some questions I was a bit okay, but yeah, no, everyone was nice enough, but I did get really bad flushing, so again, when I eat hot food I flush, so it's always a bit embarrassing, but I think the restaurant was dark enough to kind of cover it up. Again, I didn't drink any alcohol, even though like our whole table was bought like a round of port. Apparently it's like a Christmassy drink thing. Well, in the UK it is anyway. And I didn't drink mine. I was like, I really it smelled horrible. Anyway, but yeah, so the moral of all these 4 Christmas parties was that if I can survive 4 Christmas parties, number 1, I can do anything, and number 2, you can do anything. Like, if you set your mind to something, you can do it, whether or not you want to, or you are going to enjoy it or not. I did enjoy myself. There were parts I enjoyed from all 4 things, and I would just say challenge yourself more often. So after that super rambly last bit about Christmas parties and other fancy things, I'm moving on because it's a new year and it's exactly the same me. But I thought I'd go into some presents that I got and how I'm going to use them in the new year. So Christmas presents. And my mum did something really clever for Christmas. So I had like a stocking, like a Christmas stocking. I know I'm 23, but you know, everyone's a kid at heart. And she got me this really cool, she bought like this really cool like material bag and filled it with loads of like sensory and fidget stuff, like toys and things. So I thought I'd just go through what she got me in there and how I've been using it. So the first thing she got me was this super cool like a stingray stress toy. So it's about the size of like the palm of my hand kind of thing, and it's almost like a memory foam. So when you like squish your fingers into it, it leaves a bit of a print for like, I don't know, 5 seconds, and then it like kind of disappears. And it's kind of a purpley blue sea oceany kind of colour, and it's so like therapeutic to squish. I definitely recommend having a look online. I think she got most of the bits and pieces from Amazon, so it's really worth having like a stress ball or stress toy. Like I know a lot of people who like have them in their like coat pockets and things, because then you can kind of like fidget without it being like out in front of you kind of thing, or in like a jumper pocket. So this one's a little bit bigger, so it's kind of, I'm using it at home kind of thing, but it's great. It's got like this it's got like really big like a really big tail, and it's just super squishy and sensory, and it's amazing. So totally recommend getting one of those if you can. And then the next thing my mum got me was like this big plastic ball, and it has loads of kind of like tiny plastic balls inside it, and the balls stick out through holes. So there's about 6 holes, and like different coloured balls sticking out all of these holes in this big ball. And what you can do is you can kind of shift the balls around within the main ball. It sounds a bit weird. Basically, you can move the balls around to different holes, and there's like a really big sponge inside the ball so that the tiny balls don't fall out. So literally you can just click the balls back and forth. They're like almost tiny plastic ping pong balls, but it's really, I don't know, like stress busting, and it has like a little like carry handle, so you could, I don't know, pop it on like a bag or something. It's not huge, but it's enough to kind of sit and keep you busy kind of thing. So I know that one's definitely from Amazon. So I think it's just like a fidget ball is what it's called, and it kind of it's quite clicky, so it's quite noisy, so you couldn't use it in a quiet environment, but it's great for like using at home, which is what I've been using it. The next thing that my mum got me was some resistance bands, so just like exercise resistance bands. I think like sometimes you'd see them in like a gym kind of thing, and they're really good for kind of like sensory input. So you can kind of, I don't know, like pull against your own weight with like the resistance bands around your feet or around your arms, and there's loads of different exercises you can do. I'm going to look at some more YouTube tutorials for that, but I think I'm definitely going to get some good use out of them, because to have like, I don't know, as part of like my sensory diet, it's a good thing to be, I don't know, like I remember like as a kid, like always kind of like pushing and pulling things and like lifting things is good for like sensory input. I remember that was something my like occupational therapist used to get me to do quite a lot, because it's good like on your muscles. So yeah, I'm gonna be using my resistance bands this new year. And then the last thing that was in my little sensory bag was some like noise cancelling like earbud headphones. So again, these were bought on Amazon, and they're like what do you call them, like earbud, like in-ear buds, but they're connected like along a plastic kind of headphone headset thing, and they're really good. Recommend them. They're super noise cancelling, and they're also really good. Like I'm going to try and wear them out and about. They're really good for if there's like a loud background environment. Apparently a lot of people wear them in offices as well, just so that they can kind of, you can hear people like near you, so like it wouldn't make you jump if someone talked to you, but in the background it kind of cancels out the sort of kind of hum of noise, which I think is quite good. So again, those are on Amazon, and I'd say they're worth a look. They've got like a blue kind of band, and instead of wearing them like headphones, like on top of your head or behind your head, you wear them like they kind of almost go under your chin, sort of thing. They don't touch your chin, but yeah, if you sort of look them on Amazon, you'll see what I mean. But I would definitely recommend them, and I think I'll be using them more when I'm out and about, because I've got long hair. I can kind of cover it, apart from the sort of bit that goes under your chin, but you wouldn't be able to see that anyway. So yeah, I'll let you know how I get on with those. So that was my Christmas presents review, and that leads beautifully onto my next segment, which is going to be me chatting all about creating a sensory box. So on my blog, when I first started, so when I think I was 21, 21 and sensory, I'm 23 now, so one of the first sort of, I think it was the like 5th or 6th blog post, was about creating a DIY sensory box. So one that you could do yourself at home, kind of collect bits and pieces from around your house, as well as like sort of sensory toys you can buy online, but also kind of more like cheaper alternatives. And I thought I'd kind of update my sensory box, seeing as that one's quite old. It's sort of 3-4 years old now, and because I got some new Christmas presents which are kind of sensory based, I can update them and kind of pop them all in the same box. So I'm on the hunt for a really nice kind of container, so I think I'm gonna have to go sort of shopping for one. I'm thinking maybe IKEA, HomeSense, TK Maxx, Dunelm, somewhere in these shops there must be nice containers. Like I'm kind of looking for, I think, a box with a lid, literally so I can kind of like dive in anytime and grab what I need, just even if it's like a fidget spinner or fidget cube or something, you know, like a stress toy, basically so they're all in one place and I know where to find them, which is a key thing in life, is knowing where you've put things so that you can find them again. So yeah, I'm going to create a sensory box. I might kind of chat about it on this podcast as well as on my blog, so if you want to see photos of it, just keep checking back on my blog, but I'll mention when it's uploaded. Another thing that I had forgotten that I got for Christmas that I wanted to mention was from my parents, and it was the one thing that I asked for at Christmas. And literally my mum was like, "Emily, what do you want for Christmas?" And I was like, "I don't need anything." And she was like, "Really?" And I was like, "There is one thing." And she was like, "What?" I was like, "A wave machine." And she was like, "Okay." So it sounds like a leisure centre wave machine. It's not. Basically it's like a small kind of, it looks like a little kind of, almost like a little radio in size, and it's a projector, and it projects light onto my ceiling, but the light has like a kind of filter in it which makes it look like sea waves. So I can turn it on at night, and when I look up on the ceiling from my bed, I can see like kind of moving waves, and it is the most calming thing, and I love it. I remember seeing someone else got one. I think it was like a gift guide for like 2016 or something, and I thought, oh, that's so cool, and I just remembered about it this Christmas, and I do you know what, I'd give it 10 out of 10. I totally recommend getting one if you're into kind of sensory lighting and kind of, I don't know, it has like a built-in speaker, so you could plug in your phone to play music from it, or I just play it. I usually go to bed with like a bath running soundtrack on my phone, so actually it works really well because I'm looking up at like waves and listening to like running water, so that works really well. But yeah, it has a built-in speaker if you want to listen to it a bit louder, but it's almost like you know, you get those kind of like sensory rooms in like therapy sort of places, or in kind of like charity places, like they have like sensory rooms with kind of LED lights and things like that. It's a bit kind of, it's along that kind of theme. It's like a really dark blue, and the waves sort of move over each other. It's really lovely, and I don't think it was that expensive. I think it was sort of like £15 to £20 ish, and for a Christmas present I thought that wasn't like ridiculous. It was bought on Amazon, and I think it was like a kind of, it was a Chinese sort of manufactured thing. It wasn't anything super fancy, but I love it so far and totally recommend getting one. So yeah, wave machines are the way to go. I wanted to have a quick sort of chat about stress and how it affects me and my kind of coping mechanisms. So I always find the start of the year super stressful, and I think it's because the Christmas period I was off for 10 days, so I'd usually be off for like a couple of weeks over Christmas, and it's totally out of routine and it throws me, and I forget about it each Christmas, and I hate finishing work at Christmas, which is insane, I know, because everyone else is like, woo, Christmas, and I'm like, I'd rather be at work because I know what I do there, I know my place, it's 9 till 5, I know when lunch is. I just love work and routine, it's my favourite. So when that's gone, it's a bit like unsettling. And then, I don't know, January 1st is literally the most difficult day because I'm waiting to go back to work, and there's this lull, and like I'm wondering what other people are doing, and I'm anxious, and I get a bit OCD and like controlling about where things are, and like, I don't know, like distracting myself by like, I don't know, organising things in my room, which isn't obviously a bad thing because tidying is always good, but yeah, it totally throws me, and it took me about, I don't know, it took me 2-3 days to get back into like the work routine, but the first day back was super quiet because no one was in, and I think like this Monday was when everyone was back in at work, and it felt like normal again, and it was just like such a relief because everyone's back in, everything's almost back to normal, everyone's back from their holidays, and I just find like end of December, start of January, I get really mood swingy, and I'm either kind of, I don't know if it's also kind of, you see your relatives more, you see your family more, which obviously isn't a bad thing, but it can be overwhelming and it can be noisy, and as much as I love my relatives, they still touch me on my shoulder and sometimes hug me, which is fine because they're my family and they love me, which is lovely, but I find it hard. Yeah, so I think sensory wise I'm running at 100%, and that means stress wise and kind of mood wise that it's just all over the place, and it can be quite, I don't know, confusing to me because I can't control my mood. My mood relies so heavily on my sensoriness, like If something's too noisy, it affects my mood. If something's too bright, it affects my mood. If someone touches me, it affects my mood. Like, the senses relate directly to my mood, and it's really difficult to control. And it's also difficult, like, when people see me in that state, they're like, well, why are you like that? Why are you reacting like that? Sort of thing. And I can't explain it. It's really hard to explain as like a meltdown or a kind of sensory freak out. But yeah, that's just part of the Christmas period and part of life in general. Yeah, it makes me a bit different and a little bit special, but I don't think I'd want it any other way. And I'm learning to cope just by being open about it and just saying, like, look, I feel like this at the moment. I don't know why. It might be because of this, you know, noise or bright light or someone touching me or like a really strong smell. And just try and be, this new year I need to be more open and say, look, I'm feeling a bit stressed or overwhelmed or a bit meltdowny sensory wise. I can't really explain it, but it might be because of this. Just give me 5-10 minutes or give me a quiet room and I will be back soon. Yeah, so that's my kind of stress and mood swingy bit over the holidays. Just quickly before I wrap up this podcast, I wanted to chat about one last thing, and that is drinking more water. So I kind of made it as a bit of a New Year's resolution in a way, but I realised that I have no like sense of thirst. Like, I never feel thirsty, which means that I don't drink enough. I can go all day without drinking something because I just don't realise that it's something I need to have, because I don't have that, like, oh, I'm really thirsty, or oh, I've got a dry mouth or something like that. It's a bit like how I don't get full easily, like when I'm eating. Like, I never know when I'm full. It's, for some reason, it's the senses. I'm a sensory person, what can I say? So anyway, I'm making it more of a thing to be more like drink water and be more like water conscious. So at work I've got like a nice plastic like water bottle, like a reusable one. So I make sure that I try and drink it throughout the morning and then fill it up at lunchtime and try and drink it throughout the afternoon. I do drink tea as well, but I know that can be a bit like dehydrating and like caffeine and whatever. So yeah, I am trying to drink more water, and I think it's definitely better in terms of kind of, I think drinking more water is better for your kind of skin and your health, obviously, because we're kind of made of a lot of water, so I've heard. And I don't know, I feel, I don't know, a little bit more, not healthier, but a bit, I don't know, it's almost like, because it gives me something to do, it's kind of like a bit of a distraction as well. It's something that I make sure I'm doing more, and I don't know, I think it's also because I'm keeping to a New Year's resolution, which is a good thing. But yeah, if you don't drink enough water, I recommend getting a reusable water bottle, because it really does make you kind of want to fill it up more and use it more. Like, get a super funky one. I know one of my friends has one where it's like morning, afternoon, evening, and it has like little lines on the side of the bottle, so you know how much you have to drink like during the day. So yeah, whatever works for you, but just have a look at how much you're drinking during the day and make sure you're drinking enough, people. And yeah, that was my last little chat. So I will hopefully be doing another podcast soon, end of January, start of February. Again, keep an eye on my blog for some new blog posts, and I will mention in my next podcast if I've done my sensory box. Hopefully I will have done it by then. But yeah, feel free to leave me a review or give me a call in on the Anchor app. And yeah, I hope everyone's having a good New Year so far, and I will see you again soon. Okay, bye!